What if one of the most valuable coins in America has already passed through your hands, and you spent it on a cup of coffee? Law Coins World Washington Quarter Dollar 1967 coins. It sounds impossible. After all, a quarter is just a quarter, right? That's exactly what millions of Americans believe every day as they toss loose change into jars, leave coins in their cars, or hand them over at checkout counters without a second thought. But collectors know something the average spender doesn't. Sometimes the difference between 25 cents and a fortune comes down to a detail so small that most people never notice it. Right now, somewhere in the United States, there could be a rare 1967 Monticello Thomas Washington quarter dollar coin hiding in plain sight. It could be buried in an old coin collection inherited from a grandparent. It could be sitting in a forgotten coffee can in a garage. It could even be mixed onto a pile of ordinary change waiting to be spent. And if that coin happens to possess the right combination of rarity, condition, and minting anomalies, some experts believe it could command extraordinary attention from collectors, with values discussed as high as $791,000 for the most exceptional examples. The question is simple: are you a spender or a collector? Because one spans history without looking, the other recognizes opportunity before everyone else does. The story begins in 1967, one of the most unusual years in modern American coinage. The United States was facing a nationwide coin shortage. Demand for circulating coins had surged, and the government was under pressure to increase production. To discourage coin hoarding and speculation, the United States Mint made a historic decision. Mint marks were temporarily removed from circulating coinage. That single decision created one of the most fascinating periods in modern numismatic history. Without traditional mint marks identifying where coins were produced, collectors today face a challenge that adds mystery to every surviving specimen. It also means that unusual examples from 1967 often attract intense scrutiny because researchers and collectors are constantly searching for clues hidden within the coin's production characteristics. At first glance, the 1967 Washington quarter appears completely ordinary. The familiar portrait of George Washington dominates the obverse. The eagle design appears on the reverse. Everything seems normal. But in the world of elite coin collecting, normal is often where extraordinary discoveries begin. The most sought-after examples reportedly exhibit unusual characteristics that separate them from millions of ordinary quarters produced during the same year. Among the most discussed are double design elements. These occur when portions of the design appear duplicated, creating a subtle but unmistakable visual effect. Certain letters may seem slightly doubled. Portions of Washington's profile may display unusual contours. Details that should appear sharp and singular instead reveal evidence of a striking anomaly. To an untrained eye, this may look insignificant. To a seasoned numismatist, it can mean the difference between pocket change and a major collectible. But the mystery deepens. Some reported examples display off-center striking characteristics. During production, the coin blank may have been improperly positioned once struck by the dies. The result is a coin with design elements shifted away from their intended location. These striking errors are highly desirable because they are immediately visible and impossible to duplicate after production. Then there are die cracks. Tiny fractures developing within the minting dies can transfer unusual raised lines onto a coin's surface. In rare cases, these cracks become dramatic enough to create unique patterns that collectors actively seek. And perhaps most intriguing of all are the examples showing evidence of die deterioration combined with exceptional preservation. This combination is extraordinarily uncommon. Think about it. A coin struck from a failing die should normally enter circulation and suffer wear over time. Finding one that somehow survives in remarkable condition decades later is like discovering a vintage sports car with only a handful of miles on the odometer. Now here's something worth considering. How many quarters do you think you've handled during your lifetime? Thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands? And how many did you actually examine? Probably very few. That's exactly why rare coins continue to surface. People overlook them. Collectors don't. Pause for a moment. If you have a coin jar somewhere in your home, remember where it is. You might want to check it after this video, because the next part of this story explains why some collectors call the 1967 quarter a ghost of the marketplace. The ghost coin is not necessarily a coin that nobody knows exists. Instead, it's a coin that rarely appears in public sales despite widespread discussion among collectors. The finest examples seem to disappear. They enter private collections. They move quietly through dealer networks. They are acquired by individuals who understand how rare they truly are. As a result, public auction appearances become infrequent. This scarcity creates intrigue, and intrigue creates demand. Imagine two collectors pursuing the same extraordinary coin. Both understand its rarity. Both know another example may not appear for years. When bidding begins, logic often gives way to emotion. The desire to own something truly scarce becomes a powerful force, and that's where prices can become astonishing. Attention reset. Let me ask you something. What sounds crazier, paying $791,000 for a quarter, or accidentally spending a quarter worth $791,000? Most people focus on the first scenario. Collectors worry about the second, because history has repeatedly shown that valuable coins are often discovered after years of being overlooked. The excitement surrounding the 1967 quarter is fueled by another important factor: condition rarity. In numismatics, rarity alone is not enough. Condition matters a lot. Millions of coins may have been produced, but only a tiny fraction survive in pristine condition decades later. Coins encounter wear. They are dropped, scratched, cleaned, damaged, and circulated. Each year removes more high-quality examples from existence. Eventually, the population of truly exceptional specimens becomes incredibly small. When rarity and condition combine, values can rise dramatically. Now imagine adding a significant minting error to that equation. The result is exactly the kind of coin that elite collectors compete aggressively to acquire. This is why grading services play such a critical role. Professional grading establishes authenticity, evaluates preservation, and provides confidence to buyers. For a coin associated with significant rarity or unusual production characteristics, a high certification grade can transform collector interest into serious investment-level demand. And that demand appears to be growing. Across the collectibles market, investors increasingly seek tangible assets with historical significance. Rare coins occupy a unique position because they combine scarcity, history, artistry, and portability. Unlike many investments, they can be held in the palm of your hand. That combination has attracted attention from both seasoned collectors and newcomers searching for opportunities beyond traditional financial markets. As interest increases, competition often follows, and when competition meets limited supply, prices can move rapidly. This is where the discussion of extraordinary valuations enters the picture. The figure of $791,000 captures attention because it represents possibility. Not every 1967 quarter is valuable. Not every error coin is rare. Not every collectible reaches six figures. But the existence of exceptional specimens reminds collectors that extraordinary discoveries remain possible. That's what keeps the hunt alive. That's what motivates people to search old collections. That's what drives collectors to inspect every detail under magnification. And that's why stories like this continue to fascinate millions of people. Attention reset number 2. Take a look at the loose change in your house tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. Because rare coins don't announce themselves. They don't glow. They don't come with warning labels. They simply wait for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. The irony is almost comical. Many people spend hours researching stocks, real estate, and investments, yet they never examine the coins sitting in their own homes. Somewhere, an overlooked quarter may be worth more than an entire collection of everyday possessions. And that's what makes numismatics so captivating. The possibility, the mystery, the hunt. As we move toward the conclusion of the story, one truth becomes clear. The 1967 Monticello Thomas Washington $quarter coin continues to attract attention because it embodies everything collectors love: historical significance, production mysteries, error varieties, extreme scarcity in top condition, and the potential for extraordinary value. Whether the next remarkable example is discovered in a forgotten collection, an estate sale, or a simple jar of spare change, the opportunity still exists. That possibility is what separates collectors from spenders. Spenders see coins. Collectors see stories. Spenders see face value. Collectors see hidden value. Spenders spend. Collectors search. And sometimes, that search changes everything. So before you dismiss another quarter as ordinary, take a closer look. Examine the details. Study the date. Learn the characteristics that distinguish common coins from exceptional ones. Because hidden wealth rarely arrives with an announcement. It hides in plain sight, waiting patiently for someone curious enough to notice. And if you found this story incredible, the next coin we're covering may be even more astonishing. It involves a mysterious production anomaly, an unbelievably small surviving population, and valuation figures that have stunned veteran collectors. You won't want to miss that one, because the next ultra-rare treasure might be sitting in your pocket right now. What if I told you that a coin many people would casually spend without a second thought could be worth more than a luxury mansion, a private yacht, or even a lifetime of savings for some families? Right now, somewhere in America, there may be an overlooked quarter sitting in a coin jar, hidden in a dresser drawer, or mixed into a pile of loose change. Most people see only 25 cents. Collectors see opportunity. And a tiny group of elite numismatists see something else entirely, a potential 6-figure or even 7-figure discovery. Before you dismiss that idea, consider this. Every year, countless rare coins are accidentally spent, traded, or deposited into banks because their owners never knew what they were holding. They see pocket change. Experts see hidden wealth. And among the coins that continue to spark intense conversations and collecting circles, few generate more intrigue than the mysterious 1982 F-mint mark Monticello Thomas Washington $quarter coin. The story surrounding this coin is filled with confusion, controversy, rarity, and the kind of mystery that makes collectors search through every jar and coin roll they can find. Some believe only a handful exist in their most desirable form. Others argue that certain rarer varieties may be even rarer than some of the most famous coins in modern American numismatics. And here's the question that should keep you watching. What if one of those rare examples passed through your hands years ago, and you spent it without realizing its true value? The year was 1982. A period of economic uncertainty in America. Inflation concerns, changing manufacturing standards, and shifting mint production practices created conditions that would eventually lead to some fascinating numismatic discoveries. While millions of quarters were produced for circulation, a few specimens appear to have escaped the mint with characteristics that continue to puzzle experts decades later. The coin itself appears ordinary at first glance. Most people would never give it a second look, but rarity in numismatics often hides in the smallest details. Tiny differences, microscopic anomalies, and subtle minting mistakes can transform an ordinary coin into an object of intense collector demand. This is where the legend of the 1982 F-mint mark Monticello Thomas Washington quarter begins. Unlike standard quarters, the most sought-after examples reportedly display unusual mint mark characteristics, striking irregularities, and evidence suggesting they may have been produced under extraordinary circumstances. These anomalies are precisely what separate a spendable coin from a potentially life-changing discovery. Now, pause for a moment. If you have a coin jar in your house, a collection inherited from parents or grandparents, or even a handful of quarters in a drawer, this might be the perfect time to remember where you put them. The next few minutes could completely change how you look at pocket change forever. One of the most discussed features associated with high-value examples is the unusual mint mark presentation. Collectors describe instances where the mint mark appears misaligned, partially doubled, or struck in a way that differs dramatically from normal production standards. These deviations are often invisible to the naked eye and require magnification to identify properly. Then there are the alleged double design elements. On certain specimens, portions of the lettering and portrait details appear duplicated, creating a subtle but highly desirable visual effect. To an inexperienced observer, These might look like minor imperfections. To a serious collector, they can represent evidence of a rare minting error. Another factor driving attention is strike quality. Some reported examples exhibit uneven pressure during production, resulting in unusual relief characteristics and design distortions. These anomalies can indicate that the coin experienced mechanical irregularities during the minting process. And if that sounds technical, that's because it is. The world of elite coin collecting operates at a level where differences measured in fractions of a millimeter can mean the difference between 25 cents and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's where things become even more fascinating. Many collectors refer to this quarter as a ghost coin. Why? Because despite ongoing discussion, exceptionally high-grade examples with the most dramatic error combinations rarely appear in public sales. They seem to vanish into private collections. They disappear into vaults. They change hands quietly among serious buyers who understand their potential significance. Think about that for a second. In a world where people constantly share luxury purchases online, why would someone keep a coin hidden? The answer is simple. Scarcity creates power, and when collectors believe something is genuinely rare, they often prefer to hold rather than sell. This limited visibility fuels speculation and drives demand even higher. Throughout the years, stories have emerged about remarkable discoveries, estate sales, inherited collections, forgotten bank rolls, and decades-old coin albums have all reportedly produced unexpected treasures. In many cases, owners had no idea what they possessed until an expert examined the coin closely. Imagine inheriting a dusty box from a relative. Inside are dozens of ordinary-looking coins. Most are worth face value. One, however, turns out to be worth more than a luxury sports car. It sounds unbelievable until you realize this exact scenario has played out repeatedly throughout numismatic history. Now let's talk about the factor that often determines whether a coin reaches ordinary collector value or enters the realm of headline-making auction results. Condition. Condition is everything. A heavily circulated example may attract attention because of its rarity, but pristine specimens are where serious money enters the picture. Coins graded at the highest levels represent survivors. They escaped decades of wear. They avoided scratches, damage, corrosion, and mishandling. In the eyes of collectors, these coins become time capsules. The combination of extreme rarity, significant error characteristics, and exceptional preservation creates the perfect storm for value appreciation. And this brings us to one of the most talked about numbers associated with the coin, $781,000. That figure has fueled endless conversations among collectors and treasure hunters alike. While values can vary dramatically depending on authenticity, grade, market conditions, and the specific error involved, the possibility of a coin approaching such a staggering valuation is enough to keep collectors searching. Think about what that amount represents: a mortgage paid off, financial freedom, retirement security, investment capital, all potentially connected to something small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Now here's an attention reset. When was the last time you checked the quarters in your wallet? Seriously, most people spend more time comparing streaming subscriptions than examining the money passing through their hands every day. Yet hidden treasures continue to surface because people overlook details. And that's exactly why rare coin discoveries remain possible. Another reason this quarter attracts so much attention is the current market environment. Rare collectibles have experienced increasing interest from investors seeking tangible assets. Unlike digital numbers on a screen, rare coins possess historical significance, physical scarcity, and a passionate collector base. When supply is limited and demand increases, prices can move dramatically. Experienced collectors understand this principle well. They know that once a truly exceptional specimen enters the market, competition can become intense. Multiple bidders pursuing the same coin can push prices to astonishing levels. This competitive atmosphere creates urgency, not panic, not hype. Urgency, because every year, fewer undiscovered examples remain hidden. Every year, more collections are examined. Every year, more rare coins are authenticated and documented. And every year, opportunities become harder to find, yet they still exist. That reality keeps the hunt alive. There's also a psychological element that makes stories like this so compelling. Deep down, Many people dream of finding something extraordinary in an ordinary place, a treasure hidden in plain sight, a reward waiting for the person willing to pay attention. Rare coins represent one of the few areas where that dream occasionally becomes reality. No treasure map, no remote island, no secret vault, just knowledge, patience, and careful observation. The irony is almost humorous. People walk past pennies on sidewalks. They dump jars of coins into counting machines. They spend quarters without looking twice. Meanwhile, collectors are examining dates, mint marks, strike characteristics, and microscopic details with the focus of forensic investigators. One person's loose change becomes another person's opportunity, and opportunities often reward those who act before everyone else notices. As we reach the end of the story, remember the central lesson. The value of a coin is not determined by what it says on its face. It is determined by rarity, demand, condition, historical significance, and collector interest. The mysterious 1982 F mint mark Monticello Thomas Washington $quarter coin continues to capture attention because it represents all the elements collectors love: scarcity, uncertainty, potential minting errors, and the possibility of extraordinary value. Whether the next remarkable example appears tomorrow, next month, or years from now, one thing remains certain. Somewhere, someone is holding a coin they do not fully understand, and somewhere else, a collector is hoping to find it first. So before you spend another quarter, take a closer look. Check your coin jars. Examine inherited collections. Search those forgotten drawers and old albums. Because hidden wealth rarely announces itself. It waits quietly for someone observant enough to recognize it. And if you think this story is incredible, wait until you hear about the next coin we'll uncover. It may be even rarer, even more mysterious, and tied to one of the most astonishing discoveries ever reported in modern numismatics. Make sure you're here for that story, because the next treasure might already be sitting in your pocket.